Welcome to the one and only ComiCom podcast, your podcast for comic book news, reviews, and comic community drama, with your hosts, Nemesis Prime and Milton the Manimal. Are you listening?
Welcome back, boys and girls. We are doing a bonus content review because this is just too much to talk about in an open formatted show. We are talking about the Penguin. So if you are here listening to us, you've at least seen the Penguin, all 8 episodes. And if you have not, please do not listen to this because we are spoiling the fuck out of the Penguin. Zack is here. I am here. We're rocking and rolling tonight.
Let's get into it. I mean, I don't think we even need to. I mean, we've kind of talked, like, not specifics about this, but I don't really feel like we even need to go into, like, so what'd you think about it? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I think we both know, and everyone knows how amazing it is, right? Like, how amazing
end of review.
End of review. Thank you for tuning in. But yeah, I mean, dude, it's just like we kind of, I think we kind of talked about it when we talked about Agatha on our previous episode, right? We talked about like the pacing and the different story, and like I don't think it's fair to compare the two necessarily. I mean, you're talking about two different kind of storytelling, two different genres. Batman's more grounded, so it's not fair. I know a lot of people are out there at the early episodes are like, wow, it's so funny, Agatha's coming out and like DC's giving them a master class on a show. And like, don't get me wrong, they are giving a master class on like how to do a show, but I don't think it's fair to like compare the two.
Oh, never. You can't ever compare a Batman project to mostly any of the Marvel stuff for the most part, because it's all, it's Marvel. It's funny.
Right.
It's supposed to be bright, and it's supposed to be bright of day, not dark and gloomy of Gotham.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and even for this show, like they did a really good job of it not being dark and gloomy. You know what I mean? Like the Batman, it's like 90% of the Batman takes place at night, right? Like in most Batman movies, it's all kind of a nighttime thing. And this was obviously operating a lot during the daytime. There was throughout. Just the tone of it was so real too. It almost felt like, in a way, like if you didn't know you were watching a Batman movie, air quotes, like you could have been watching like The Wire or like something like that, right? Like a TV drama, like Mayor of Kingstown, or like one of these like crime dramas. Like that's really what it felt. The Sopranos,
100%.
Yeah.
It's wild to think about, just going, not once they only mention this madman who, because it takes place literally a week after the Batman movie, which is wild because, so I've watched it, and then my brother was just like, when's this show over so I could start binging it? And he came over Saturday night and we binged like the first 4 episodes and then watched 5, 6, and 7 yesterday on Sunday to prepare for the season finale. And then he was at his house, I was at my house watching it. And as I rewatched it, a lot of more stuff became more clear the second time around, because I'm also watching it in a binge.
Yeah.
Because like I forgot that, certain characters show up and certain things they say and certain things that happen later in the series, you're just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But it's just, you could take this series and just any episode, right? Like it don't matter if you're watching like the origin of Sophia or Oz or Victor, just every episode was just a standalone to itself. And I think that's what's the greatest thing about this series is, my brother and I were talking about like, what's the next thing you could do? And I know there's a rumor that there's a Joker one, but that's garbage. I don't think I think they could do Joker to lead up to the Batman 3, but I'd like to see, like Helena Bertinelli, give me a Huntress. She's a grounded character. Be someone in there. You could do Two-Face, but I don't know how far Matt Reeves wants to take it. There's so many different characters in the Batman lore, but yeah, man, this show was just so good, standalone.
You could do a Court of Owls. Honestly, you could do a Court of Owls with the street level type stuff as well, and like the kind of introduce the court that way. I mean, honestly, there's really not any character in the Batman universe. I don't want to say any, but like for the most part, there's no character that really you couldn't make fit in this sort of format to some extent. Maybe certain characters couldn't flesh out as well. But yeah, it was so, it was one of the things that, like, we've talked about this a lot about one of the complaints with Marvel. It's like a double-edged sword, right? So Marvel is so cool because it's so connected, right? That's what we've loved over the years. And, the cameos, when this guy shows up and this guy shows up. But we've also talked about how that is like a detriment to the Marvel as well. Like you have a movie like Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, and you have all these characters that show up, and you're like, okay, well, like, can Doctor Strange not carry his own movie? Like it kind of away from the strength of that character. You're saying you don't trust that character to control a movie himself or to have his own movie. And I thought the Penguin did it so well. Well, like you said, there was no real Batman talk besides that one comment and then what you see at the end, right? And then even side characters throughout the Batman are not really mentioned. Like you see Mayor Real's kind of mentioned a couple times throughout.
She's at the end of she's at the end of the movie in the
Yeah,
stadium. Like that's
right. And then, or in the end of the episode here, he
Mhm.
sees her in the stands or in the balcony. And then, of course, I mean, like Falcone is really the only one from the movie besides Penguin himself, obviously, that kind of is there, but he's like a past character, right? And so they did such a good job of making it standalone, but connected to the universe. And it didn't like they didn't have to do these cameos. There weren't like why I'm watching this too. Like, and this is, I promise I'm not rambling. Why I'm watching this, I'm thinking, okay, because you're so used to the last episode, you're so used to it being like, okay, who's gonna pop up? Someone's gonna
Mhm.
show up? Harvey Dent's gonna show up, or something like that, right? Like, and I'm thinking like, oh god, right? Like the acolyte, and you see Yoda, and then you see like Darth Plagueis or whatever, right? And so I'm expecting it. I'm expecting it
Mhm.
because this is like the routine now, and they didn't do it, and I think that was the way to go. Like it really was like it makes the strength of this character that he doesn't have to have these crutches to boost it. Like he just did it all on his own, which is so perfect for the character, right? Penguin who
Mhm.
did it all on his own also. Um but yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's sad too. Like that's what I'm saying. It's a double-edged sword because it would have been cool to be like, oh shit, look, that's Harvey Dent's office or something like that. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but it was so awesome.
So there is a tease. There's a photo, and I didn't send it to you, but in the courtroom they say, "Oh, the owls are coming." And there's a photo if you look at it, and I don't know if it's photoshopped,
Okay.
but the way the windows are and the way the drapes are hung, it looks like owl silhouettes.
When he's like meeting
When
that
he's meeting the
councilman.
mayor at that time. So like all the windows in
Yeah.
the background at certain angles, it looks like literally like a owl's ears and
Interesting.
silhouettes. So that's why they're like,
Missed it.
oh, it's court. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll send it to you. It's very interesting. But I like, you know what? There are two people that do show up in this series that were in the movie, which is the police commissioner.
Yeah.
He's back,
The
and
gravelly
even
voice guy.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's
So
like,
cold.
it's like,
It's
whoa,
so
dude, what's
cold.
going on here?
What's going on today? He shows up, and then that other cop, that bad, I guess what are those like cops called? Like, he's kind of like a bribery cop. I don't know, forget the term,
You
but
talking about the
Ken.
drop head who gets shot at the end?
No, 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 Kenzie. He kind of shows up towards the end of the series again. He
Oh,
was when he's in the Batman. He's the guy with the broken nose. He's the
yeah,
one that
yeah, yeah. The
came
one
in the
that
club.
Bruce broke, yeah, or
Yeah,
Batman
yeah.
broke, right? Yeah.
So he's in there too, which is nice to have. Just little people,
Right.
right?
It shows you
Nothing.
it's still the same universe. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, like you could have thrown in just Robert Pattinson as Bruce Wayne, right? Like there could have been like a news thing,
I
right?
thought
No.
maybe he was gonna like be in the courtroom or the courthouse or whatever or something, or yeah.
Yeah.
A fly, like a billboard with like Bruce Wayne or Wayne or something. But at the same time, it still was nice that there wasn't, in a way.
Mhm. Well, it's very interesting because again, it takes place the first episode starts a week after the movie.
Yeah.
And for the most part, I want to say it's maybe like a month long because then then there's like snow, right? So it's getting cold. So
Mhm.
obviously it's in that November because the Batman starts on Halloween and it's about like a 4 day, it's like 4 days is the
Yeah.
Batman. So then now you're figuring like, all right, well now it's November, and everything kind of moves fast. But I'm interested to see where Matt Reeves is going to start the Batman. Like, are we going to start it kind of like right after this, like where the bat symbol is? Are
Mhm.
we going to start this 6 months later to a year? Because then how much has Penguin grown since this?
Right.
There's some little things that I'm glad didn't happen, like you said. Like I'm glad they didn't have the Batman. We get the tease at the end with the symbol. Um, some things that I was still shocked that I guess leading into the final episode, I said to my brother, I go, if his mother dies, you will see a completely different Oswald.
Mhm.
You know, it is going to be it is going to be a 180-degree flip. And for the most part, let's be honest, it did, right?
Yeah.
It
You know,
did at the end.
he turned a corner.
Oh yeah.
He turned a corner. He was I wouldn't say like 180, but he definitely was like, okay. He upped it. It's like now we're a new level now.
Yeah, there's no family, there's
Yeah.
nothing. It's all about his mother and just him taking over for the most part. But you know, watching that final episode and him giving that speech at the end to Victor, and I'm watching it, I'm just standing there, I'm like, holy shit, he's gonna kill him. And I
Yeah.
got chills like right before it started happening. I'm like, man, he's
Yeah.
just gonna shoot him. And as he's strangling him, I'm feeling it. Like I'm feeling it as the viewer and almost as the person that's getting it, because you're just like, this guy just poured his heart out telling
Mhm.
you about the family. You've gotten to learn about Victor throughout this whole series, you know, where he came from, his parents, his girlfriend. He stayed with Oz. And just for him to die, you're just like, man, by the end of that episode,
It's
I
brutal.
stood up and just gave a standing ovation in my basement watching this to what just like amazing.
You know, like I knew Victor was gonna die throughout the whole
Yeah,
or the whole season, right? And even at that scene, maybe in my head, I'm like, oh damn, is this dude gonna make it? But then like as the speech was going on, and I'm thinking, he's like, it's just me and you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking in my head as it's going on, like, I couldn't picture the Batman 2 and Victor getting punched in the face by Batman, right? Because he's
mhm.
like, he wasn't even throughout this time, don't get me wrong, he shot a bunch of dudes at the end, like bad dudes. But Victor never did anything that necessarily made him a piece of shit. Um, don't get me wrong, I mean, he's selling drugs and stuff. Yes, that's not ideal, right? But like he didn't do anything penguin caliber, right? Or even anything like any of the other gangsters caliber. So in my head, as you're watching slowly and your mind works like warp speed, I'm running down like all the angles. I'm like, well, they're gonna have to. I'm thinking in my head, like, it's gonna have to jump in time because Victor's gonna have to be some moderate piece of shit by the time Batman punches him in the face, because it's not going to be a good look if it's just nice old Victor and he's taking one of the chin by
Yeah.
Batman, dude. Like, it ain't gonna fly. So that was why I think that was at the moment where I was like, oh yeah, he's dying, dude. Like he's not gonna fit. He's just not gonna fit.
Yeah,
So
he's still too much of a kid. It was funny
yeah.
watching the series on Saturday and Sunday with my brother. My brother's like, "Man, they should have made this guy like Roman Sionis, like Black Mask. Could have been like a pickup." But I'm like, they got to kind of be like the same age. Like you can't have a
Mhm.
kid because
Yeah.
comes from a wealthy family. Can't really make it a Harvey Dent. You can't make it like a Thomas Elliot or any of those characters because yeah, they're important characters in the DC lore, but yeah, you just need him to be a fall guy. That's what he is at the
Yeah.
end of the day. He was a fall guy. Just
Yep.
um, I saw I saw Paperweight post this thing on his stories. I don't know if you saw it. It was like, if you've seen Victor
Oh,
Aguilera.
that was from the Batman's IG account, dude. That came from
Oh,
the
okay.
Batman's official page. They put out the wanted or the missing poster for him. This is
That shit was
freaking
crazy.
rough, dude. So,
But
um,
let's talk Colin Farrell and Kristen Milan. Like
yeah.
I was watching, like I said, 5, 6, and 7 at my parents yesterday, and my mom's like, "Oh, who's that actor?" I'm like, "That's Colin Farrell." She's like, "No, no," and I'm like, "That's Colin Farrell."
Yeah.
And all right, if him and Christine don't win an Academy Award for Best Actor and
Something.
Actress,
Yeah.
nomination and wins, I am boycotting. I don't know what I'm boycotting, but just
Boycotting something you don't really watch anyway.
yeah, I'm boycotting who knows what.
I'm just gonna continue to not watch this.
Yeah. How can you not give it to these people? Right?
I don't know, dude.
I mean, there's the part where what's it? I think it's episode 6 when he gets the different um gangs together.
Mhm.
And just his speech,
When
and he's just
with
like,
the beers.
yeah, with the
Yeah.
beers, and he's just like, yeah, and he's like, your people bought that. He's like, you built that bridge, and they don't know your fucking name. And I'm just like,
I
I'm
know.
like,
Gives
dude,
you
this is
chills, dude.
just,
Yeah.
yeah. Like, how can you not like him? and just his like little mannerisms, his little quirks, his little like ticks. It's just like he's so good as a character.
Mhm.
And then even her, like I knew her from How I Met Your Mother and Wolf on Wall Street, and there's something
Yeah.
else. Like
Wolf on Wall
she's like
Street.
this happy-go-lucky character, and you put her in this, she's just like crazy to be like from Arkham, like just a completely flip, Italian mobster.
I did like how because I don't like when things like this happen, like in movies, like in or stories, when things aren't addressed. One of the things I was super, I mean, it's not a big deal. Like, I don't want to say this is like a make or break deal, but
Mhm.
I was super happy when they did at the end the letter from Selena to her, because that
Yeah.
stuff bugs me, because it's like, hey, dude, we just watched a whole movie where Carmine Falcone's daughter was like the main character, one of the main characters, right? And it was like this big thing. And so then now we're in this show, and now he's got another daughter. And so to me, if you don't address that, and of course some people be like, well, they did because the prostitutes and stuff. I get it. Like I'm with you. Like everyone can track how this would be there. But I love that they kind of button that up.
Mhm.
And
Even
I
the
love that
way
she
they
didn't die,
killed
dude. I love that
even
she didn't die.
yeah, I that was crazy. I didn't think he was gonna kill her either. But I also didn't think that he would bring her to hell, like he said, is Arkham. But real quick, back to the closing, kind of full circle between
Yeah.
Batman and Penguin. All the prostitutes that were getting killed and how they were killed is the same thing in the movie
Mhm.
with because that's how Falcone uh got arrested at the end of the movie, right? With Selena's uh, roommate or whatever.
Right.
Like it's the same thing. So it's the same MO.
Yep.
It's a continuing circle, and you're just like, damn. And I didn't realize that until the second time I watched it. So, I'm glad I kind of binge watched it the second time to really pick up little things that I wasn't really getting the first time. And then, even a perfect thing would be to watch The Batman and we'll go right into this show.
So that's what my father-in-law was with us for like the past month or so when the Penguin started,
Yeah.
and it was coming on, and he was staying with us for a while helping out. And I was like, oh, well, we got to watch the Batman first. So I made him watch the Batman, and then we watched we literally finished it and was like, cool, let's watch the first episode of the Penguin. And he's like, oh, okay. And he's like, oh, and my father-in-law is like older, he's like 70s. But he likes it. He likes this stuff. He's like, oh, that was really good. And he just like loved the Penguin. So that tells you something. Like, he's not one of us. He's not like a comic book guy.
Yeah.
But every week he was so pissed because he'd be like, we gotta wait another week. And so he's with us for like, I mean, he probably stayed with us for like 2 or 3 months helping out.
Yeah.
And so I think he watched 5 episodes. Yeah. So he got to watch 5 episodes. And like, oh man, dag nabbit, because he doesn't curse. God dag nabbit, God darn it, gosh darn it, gall darn it, whatever he says. And so that I texted him today. I was like, hey, last episode of Penguin was last night. You need to figure out how to watch. He's like, I know, I'm trying to find a way to watch. How many do I got to watch? And I was like, 6, 7, and 8. Let me know if you don't have it. I'll give you my access. He's like,
Mhm.
okay. But even he loved it. He was just, and he couldn't, every episode, he's like, oh, I can't believe every episode. I can't believe that's Colin Farrell. I can't believe that's Colin Farrell.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't even know. I'm trying to think, like, what's something bad you can say about this? Like, what was you complain
Uh,
maybe there wasn't Batman, maybe, but
the
like,
flashbacks, like were too much, maybe. Like
I didn't.
his brothers, but then that flows into
Yeah, I didn't think
the
so.
movie. But all that is so part of
You
every
need his
episode because again,
backstory.
no,
Yeah,
no, I
yeah.
agree. I'm just saying out
What
loud.
people would say.
I'm
Yeah,
answering your questions, Zach.
yeah.
I'm trying to answer your question. Um, because when he first goes down in the sewers with Victor to find the thing, and then you go past the door, that's like foreshadowing, right?
Mhm.
Because it's the same door that for his brothers, and it's the same door that he uses to hide himself from the bomb. And so everything, little things that you when you watch it the second time, you'll actually pick those up to be like, oh, this means something at a later date and time.
Yeah.
Uh, it's the only thing that I thought about, which I would have loved more, but I'm kind of fine because we, it's still too early. Was either of those doctors in Arkham could have been Hugo Strange
I was always thinking the same
or
thing too,
like
right? Yeah.
Victor Victor Crane have been like, holy shit. Like,
Yeah, I know. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, every time they're walking through when we saw her at Arkham in that last scene, and I was like,
Mhm.
"Oh, are we gonna walk by Riddler's cell, or are we gonna walk by an office that
Mm.
says Dr. Hugo Strange? Like, are we gonna see something?" But and you get excited about it, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, it's cool that they didn't do that. Yeah, I don't know, dude. Like, I really don't have anything to say bad about this. I'm with you. The flashbacks, maybe some people could be like, I would have liked less of that, but I do think it's important too because this isn't like our traditional penguin backstory canon, right? Like even the last name Cobb, like we're not there's no Cobblepot yet. Cobblepot,
Mhm.
and I actually that was something I was thinking was going to happen. Like when he was talking to the councilman, and the councilman's like, basically like, "Hey man, you got to church yourself up to be accepted." I thought maybe he was going to be like, "Oh, I'm going to change my name to Cobblepot to sound more illustrious or something like
Mhm.
that." Um, so I thought it was important that they showed us his backstory, where he's coming from, his mentality, because DC is riddled with retcons. I mean, shit, we just had Tom King's retcon of Penguin's backstory, pretty much. So we needed to know that. Um, I don't really have anything negative to say about this show.
I can't find a thing. Seriously, if you want to nitpick little things, I'm sure there's some
Yeah,
little little niche thing that you can find, but I, there's really nothing. This was a perfect show. This is probably one of the best, I think, of all time. The only thing that I would say is on par, but the thing is, its animation is X-Men '97.
gotcha.
That's the only thing that I could say stands toe to toe with this project.
Yeah, I think when we were say like giving a master class, right? I think what they did here is the master class in telling a story on a different format to fit in a universe, right? So like I know Marvel's been trying to do it with all their shows, but I feel like they take the idea of like let's make a mini movie into a show into like episodes. And you know who else was kind of another like universe that was going to do something like this was the Dark Tower universe. When they started doing the Dark Tower in the films, they had it all planned out that you were going to get like the film, and then you were going to go and it was going to be on HBO also. You were going to have flashback seasons on like episodic to tell Roland Deschain's like backstory.
Mhm.
And I think they really did a good job here with like, hey, look, man, like we don't want Penguin, we don't want to go in the next movie and have to tell his whole damn backstory. But we also want you to be excited, and we want this guy to do his thing. And this is the way to do it. Like, boom, you can introduce these characters who everyone's very familiar with too, right? Like we don't need origin stories for the most part anymore.
Yep.
So this is a great way to go and have these side characters that maybe don't need a full. I mean, like, dude, like, do we need Penguin for a full movie? I don't know if he's that kind of a villain, right? Like to
No.
like
There's news that he's gonna be in 5 or 6 scenes of Batman 2.
perfect. Yeah.
Like, there's not much.
Well, honestly, that's probably about what he had in the Batman. I mean,
Yeah.
a little bit more, but not a ton. I mean, he wasn't, you know.
Yeah, I would say probably the same amount. So that's good. That's
Yeah,
kinda where you wanna be, you know? Yeah, anything like the Falcones, the Malone, you don't need there's no thing. I don't need
I
anything
like how
more.
they're gone too. Like they're
Yeah.
off the table, right? So like now it's like let's move on, man. Like I really like the idea of the Court of Owls. I know there's been talks about Victor Freeze. I would love to see a Mister Freeze, like a grounded, some type of Mister Freeze. What was some of the other rumors? Clayface, right? There's been some
Yeah,
Clayface
Clayface
rumors.
has kind of been out there because you could kinda go with, like, the more 40s and 50s style of Clayface before it became Matt Hagen.
Yeah.
You still have a guy who's well, I think I read this too this week, and Matt Reeves kinda said it. This is a
Mhm.
ep crime noir trilogy.
Yeah.
So, it's gonna be characters that can fit into this Batman world that are not gonna be CGI heavy. So,
Right.
you can continue getting those type of, mobster type characters, but also, yeah, you could throw in Clayface, who's somebody who does, roll into the noir thing and
Mhm.
the crime stuff. And who would have thought that we would have gotten the Riddler the way we did, right? So
Yeah.
he could really take any of these characters and bring it. And then by the third movie, you're going to do the Joker, which is nice to not have Joker in the first two for the most part, from what we know. Um, I, even like another series to spin off this, I would love like an Arkham series. Just give me like just give me stuff
Yeah.
that's going on in Arkham.
Well, for a long time there was the talk about the and was it with I can't even remember now, all the news coming out all the time and mixing it all up. There was really talk about like a GCPD like series,
Yeah.
right? Was that tied to Matt Reeves at the time? Do you remember? Was that universe or was that something else? Was that the
I
DCU?
don't think it was. I think that was prior to James, way before James Gunn. But I
Yeah,
do remember that they were talking about a GCP
right.
show. Couldn't tell you what universe it was going to be in.
Yeah, I don't remember either, man. All that stuff got
Maybe
muddled
Snyder,
up for
but
a
yeah.
while. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to see Roman Sionis. I really don't. It just kind of feels like keep the penguin in there to keep the mobster scene, but like let's move on from the mobsters. Like, I mean, I know it's hard when you're trying to make it like grounded. Um, I don't know. I mean, look at Nolan was able to bring in Ra's al Ghul,
Mhm.
who not a grounded character at all, right? Immortality, like the League of
Yeah.
Shadows, like they were able to make that work.
Yeah.
Um,
Even Bane for the way that it was
even
brought
Bane,
in. Like,
yeah, no venom, like just kind of this dude.
yeah.
So I mean, there's ways, man. So
But
yeah,
overall, I think this
chef's
was,
kiss.
yeah, yeah. Just it. If it wins awards, there's no, it is the new top tier. It is
Yeah.
the new standard. It's the new norm of what it needs to be. And now it's like, all right, maybe Marvel needs to take a step back and be like, all right, maybe we got to do something similar.
Mm,
Really think about how you're writing it. Cause like you said, they try to make a 2.5 hour movie broken into 6 or 7 episodes where every episode is an episode. It's
yeah.
not, you could skip one of the episodes and it's fine for the most part because you're still going to continue the story. You're just going to be like, oh, this is cool. This is interesting how this is happening. But yeah.
Yeah. You're asking for Disney to be self-aware of like and make corrections. Shit, dude. Yeah, right. Um, no, I mean, at the very least, they got to be winning some kind of like makeup award here, right?
Yeah.
They got to
Oh,
be
yeah.
winning the
100%.
makeup award for this show, dude. So
Just everything in the background. There's so much stuff that you see that is because of what happened, like what the Riddler did, like
mhm.
how shitty Crown Point looks, how Robbinsville looks, how other parts of Gotham look. There was just so much just rubble, and it's like so out of reading Batman No Man's Land, like
Yeah,
how it was. So yeah, this is I give this like an A plus plus.
yeah. I do. When I was hoping like at the end you would have seen him kind of like set up shop at the Iceberg Lounge. I was kind of hoping like, you know what, I'm going to take over. I'm going to get that back.
That's
But
the one thing
that
that
might be what we see.
that's
You
the
know,
one thing that I will say that I feel like it was done in the reverse. Like I feel like in the first movie, it shouldn't have been the Iceberg Lounge. It should have been just some other club
right?
in the Batman universe. And then then him setting up shop at the Iceberg Lounge. Because now it's like, yes, it's there.
Penguin,
Yes,
yeah, the
it's
penguin
Penguin's
connotation.
thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. But
yeah. I hear you.
I don't it was epic. That's all I have to say. So
Yeah,
I'm glad
yeah.
we could
No,
just do this because this would have
there's
been just an
nothing.
entire
There's nothing else to say about the show. Yeah,
no.
it's awesome.
So check us
Cool.
back with our regular scheduled episodes. Fun stuff happening on the podcast. And we'll see you all soon.
Later.
Later. Hey, comic book collectors. Do you want to protect what you collect? Do you hate when your comic books slide around in your short box, or you need to turn them sideways just so they don't bend or fall over? Well, look no further than Sidekick Supplies. Their product fits firmly inside your comic box, so you don't need to worry. And not only is their product made in the USA, but also ships free directly to your doorstep. Check out our sponsor, Sidekick Supplies, at sidekicksupplies.com and use the code ComiCom15 for 15% off your purchase. Believe me, you'll be ordering more than one.